In this video, I'm going to go through the answers to Mendelian Genetics practice worksheet number 2. In this worksheet, we are given some information about what's going on with the trait, either what the two parents have, some information about what their offspring have, and we have to use some logic and working backwards in some cases to figure out what the dominant trait and what the recessive trait is. So here, we're first told that the female on the left is heterozygous, that the male on the right is homozygous recessive. So the female on the left being heterozygous has to be big B, little b, and the male on the right being homozygous recessive is two of the same of the recessive allele. So the phenotype, again, is what they look like. So we're looking at these pictures and figuring out, well, what is different about them? It's the color of them. So the phenotype of the female would be white, and the phenotype of the male on the left would be black for these birds of whatever type of bird this is. And so for this cross, we have our two genotypes of our parents. We can fill in this cross here. Big B, little b, big B, little b, little b, little b, little b, little b. So our phenotypic ratio, 2 out of the 4 have big B, little b. We figured out by looking at the parents that the in this case of the birds here, the white feather type was dominant. So we would expect to see 2 white birds for every 2 black birds here. And so there are 4 eggs here in the picture. Here we're asking, would those offspring adhere to those exact ratios? So can we confidently say that when those eggs hatch, there's going to be 2 white birds and 2 black birds present there? And the answer to that is no, because remember, a Punnett square is just a predicted probability. So it gives us some idea of what is going to happen, but it's not guaranteed that that's what's going to happen. Probability. Okay. So we could end up having all 4 of them be white. We could end up having all 4 of them be black. We could have 3 white and 1 black, 3 black, 1 white. We don't really know until they actually hatch. But if we had, say, 100 eggs, then we would know that we're probably going to get closer and closer to this predicted ratio. So this next one, they gave us a little bit less information. All they told us is that there is this trait with the back fins. We have some that have 2 fins, and we have some that are single. And these larger 2 fish here are the parents. The smaller fish are their offspring. And we have to figure out what is the dominant trait based on what we see here. So the first thing that I notice here is that both parents have 2 fins, and most of their offspring, let's see, 4 out of the 6 have 2 fins. So thinking about that, that makes me think, well, because there was more of the parents and more of the offspring of 2 parents of that same type, that kind of suggests to me that this 2-fin trait might be dominant. However, the real giveaway is considering the alternative. Is it possible for 2 parents with a recessive phenotype to end up with an offspring, or in this case 2 offspring, that have a phenotype that's different than them? So let's think about that with a Punnett square, for example, if we were using B's here for our recessive trait. If the parents had the recessive trait, the only possible offspring they can have is children that look different than them. Since they ended up with a child that looks different than them, or 2 children that look different than them, we know that they couldn't possibly have both had the recessive trait. They had to have had the dominant trait, and in fact they must have been heterozygous, as we'll see when we look at some more Punnett squares. So the dominant phenotype here must be the 2-fin type. The recessive phenotype, therefore, would be the 1-fin type. The possible genotypes of the parents, so we know that they now have the dominant phenotype, so possible genotypes for them are big B, or big B, little b. We'll see later that it can only be this. How many of the baby fish have that dominant? 4. How many have the recessive? 2. So Punnett squares, thinking about these two possibilities from the parents. So we want to put together all the possible combinations that the parents could be. So potentially both of them could have been big B, big B. We do that cross out. Pretty soon we figure out that could not be the case because we did end up with some children here that were not big B, big B. Another possibility would be one of them was big B, little b, and the other big B, big B. We do that again. Even though we get some heterozygous individuals, all of these would have 2 fins, so that is not possible since they had offspring with 1 fin. So our third possibility is that both of them were heterozygous. And here we finally end up with an individual that does not have the same phenotype as the parents. So the genotype of both parents had to be big B, little b, and the other possibilities here, our first two, are not possible because there was an offspring that had the recessive phenotype. So let's take another look at an example like this. Here we have some Yetis. We're looking at a phenotype of their horns. They either have horns or they don't have horns. The 2 big Yetis here are our parents, and the 4 small ones are their offspring. So here we want to figure out what do we think is most likely the dominant phenotype. So it could either be having horns as dominant or not having horns as dominant. So think about this for a second. We had one parent with no horns and one parent with horns, and all the babies ended up with no horns. So this should look kind of familiar. This was what Mendel looked at when his first F1 generation when he bred 2 pure breeding individuals. So this would indicate to me that no horns is probably dominant because there are more of the offspring with that trait. So no horns, and so therefore having horns is most likely the recessive phenotype there. So therefore the one with horns, the one on the right, we use H's here, would have to be little h, and the one on the left over here, we don't know yet, but we could probably figure out just by thinking about it, but we'll do some Punnett squares later to rule it out. An individual with the dominant allele could be homozygous dominant or heterozygous. And our Yeti babies here, since one of the parents is little h, the Yeti babies have to have at least one little h, but since they have no horns, which we were saying is dominant, they have to be big H, little h. Now, our Punnett squares, we had one parent had to be little h, so those are the only possibilities of one parent, and the other parent could be big H, or big H, little h. So when we do those squares, we find that in our first one here, we don't end up with any offspring that have horns, and in our second one we end up with 50% of them having horns and 50% of them not having horns. So thinking about what we actually ended up with in the offspring, it is most likely that our first Punnett square here is the correct one because that's what we observed in the offspring. However, that's not a guarantee because remember, again, this is just a predicted probability. So the likely genotypes of the parents are little h, and big H. It's unlikely that they have this second possibility here because we would expect to see at least some little h or horned offspring in that case. But we can't 100% say that for sure because it's just a predicted probability. Now here, our last one, presence of back fins, so like in our baby here, is a dominant trait. Could this couple have had this baby? So if having back fins is dominant, both our parents don't have that, so they must have the recessive genotype. They must be homozygous recessive. So both of those parents with no back fins must be big little b, and little b. A little b crossed with a little b cannot possibly end up with anything that is other than little b. So we know, no, this is not possible for two parents that have the recessive phenotype to end up with a baby that has the dominant phenotype.